You don't always need to force things. You don't always need to prove yourself. Silence carries a power most people will never understand. When you stay silent, you stop chasing. You stop begging for validation. You stop giving your energy away. Silence is not weakness. It is control. It's the choice to observe instead of react. It's the discipline to hold your tongue when others rush to speak. In silence, you hear yourself. You begin to trust your instincts. You learn to let life unfold without trying to micromanage every outcome. And here's the truth. Everything meant for you will come naturally. You don't have to scream for attention. You don't have to fight to be seen. The right people, the right opportunities, the right energy, they find you. So choose silence. Let your presence speak louder than your words. Let your calmness unsettle those who thrive on noise. And watch how everything begins to align effortlessly. Stay silent and everything will come naturally. Silence is power. Most people underestimate it because they're addicted to noise. They talk just to fill empty space. They share too much. They explain themselves when they don't need to. They try to convince others of their worth with words instead of presence. But true power is quiet. True strength doesn't beg for recognition. It simply exists. When you learn how to stay silent, you begin to understand how much control you actually have. Silence is not the absence of action. It is an intentional choice. It's you saying, I don't need to explain myself. I don't need to prove myself. I know who I am. That is power. Think about it. When someone insults you, your first instinct might be to defend yourself. You want to fire back, prove them wrong, make sure they know you're not weak. But when you remain silent, you show something far greater. You show that you don't need their approval. You show that their words cannot reach you. Silence becomes a shield. You don't lower yourself to their level because you've already risen above it. Silence is not weakness. People confuse the two because they think power means being the loudest in the room. But the loudest person in the room is often the most insecure. They need attention. They need to dominate with words because deep down, they know that energy isn't enough. The strongest person doesn't need to shout. They don't need to convince you of anything. Their silence speaks louder than noise ever could.
There is an aura that silence creates. It makes people curious. They start to wonder what you're thinking, what you're planning, what you know that they don't. Silence makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability makes you powerful. When people can't read you, they can't control you. That is why silence is a form of control, because it denies others access to your mind.
Not everything needs your reaction. Not every battle deserves your energy. Sometimes silence is the greatest response. It is saying you are not worth my words. My peace is too valuable for me to hand it over to you. That kind of restraint takes strength. Anyone can react. Anyone can argue. Anyone can be loud. But it takes true discipline to stay silent. And discipline is power. Silence also connects you to yourself. When you stop filling every moment with noise, when you stop explaining yourself to people who don't even deserve your truth, you finally hear your own thoughts. You finally notice the guidance that has always been within you. You start making decisions from clarity instead of desperation. You realize how much wisdom comes when you stop talking and start listening. Listening to your intuition, to the subtle signals life gives you, to the energy of people around you. People reveal everything when you're silent. If you stop rushing to speak, you begin to observe. You notice details others overlook. You see their true character. You hear what's really being said in between the words. Silence gives you vision. It allows you to move strategically instead of blindly reacting. And here's another truth. Silence intimidates. Some people cannot handle it. They will feel the need to fill the space because they are uncomfortable with themselves. They can't stand not knowing what you're thinking. That's how you know silence is powerful. It makes people uneasy. They can't control what they can't predict. They can't manipulate someone who doesn't give them anything to work with. You must remember, silence is not about suppressing yourself. It is about choosing wisely where you place your words, your energy, your voice. Your words carry value, so don't hand them out freely. when you are selective with your voice, it has more impact. People will listen because they know you don't waste words. They know when you do speak, it matters. Think about nature. The strongest forces don't make the most noise. A storm announces itself loudly, but it passes quickly. A mountain stands silent, yet it has been there for centuries. The ocean doesn't explain itself, but its depth is endless. Silence is that same kind of power. Calm, steady, immovable. So, learn to master it. Learn to keep your composure when others try to provoke you. Learn to observe when everyone else rushes to react. Learn to let silence do the work for you. Because the truth is, silence speaks volumes. It tells people you are secure, that you are unbothered, that you don't need outside validation to confirm your worth. You don't need to announce your every move. You don't need to argue with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't need to constantly prove yourself. You just need to be. And when you truly understand that, silence stops feeling empty. It starts feeling powerful. The person who knows when to stay silent holds the advantage in every situation. They conserve their energy. They observe more than they reveal. They choose their battles wisely. They let their actions speak. And because of that, they always come out stronger. Silence is not about hiding. It's about knowing that you are enough without explanation. It's about walking into a room and not needing to announce your worth because your energy already does. It's about realizing that not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone is worthy of your words, and not every situation needs your response. Silence is self-respect. Silence is strength. Silence is power. And when you master it, you master yourself. You do not need to force what is already meant for you. Life has its own rhythm, its own timing. The problem is most people do not trust it. They want to control every outcome, push every situation, and hold on to things that are already slipping away. That is why they feel drained. That is why they feel lost. Because they are fighting against the natural flow of life. The truth is simple. What is meant for you will come to you naturally. You will not need to chase it. You will not need to beg for it. You will not need to break yourself just to hold on to it. The right people, the right opportunities, the right energy, it will align with you without force. Think about how much time people waste trying to make things happen before their time. They get impatient. They want answers now. They want results instantly. They don't want to wait, so they try to force situations. But when you force, you only create resistance. You start running in circles. You start losing yourself. And even if you get what you thought you wanted, it never feels right because deep down, you know it was not natural. When you learn to trust the flow, you step into ease. You stop stressing over things you cannot control. You stop trying to rewrite what is already written for you. You begin to see that everything in your life has timing. Every delay has a purpose. Every rejection redirects you. Every closed door pushes you toward the right one. And all of it happens the way it is supposed to. Trusting the flow is not about being passive. It is not about sitting back and doing nothing. It is about aligning yourself so strongly with your own path that you stop interfering with it. It is about showing up, putting in your energy, but letting go of the obsession with controlling every detail. It is about knowing that your effort matters, but so does your surrender. The reason surrender is powerful is because it shows faith. Faith in yourself, faith in life, faith that no matter what happens, you will always end up where you are meant to be. That kind of faith is magnetic. It changes your energy. You stop coming from desperation and you start moving from confidence. And when you move with confidence, everything begins to align faster than you ever thought possible. Desperation pushes things away. Think about it. When you chase people, when you beg for opportunities, when you try to cling to something that doesn't feel stable, you can feel the energy. It never works out the way you want. But when you release the need to force, when you carry yourself with calm assurance, suddenly things begin to flow towards you. Opportunities appear. People are drawn to you. The right doors open without you needing to break them down. Life always has a way of bringing you exactly where you need to be. Even the detours are part of it. Even the mistakes, the delays, the heartbreaks, they all carry lessons that push you closer to alignment. You will only see the bigger picture when you look back. For now, you must trust. Trust the flow when people leave your life. It is not a loss, it is a clearing. Trust the flow when plans fall apart. It is not failure, it is redirection. Trust the flow when you feel uncertain. That uncertainty is space being created for something better to enter. But you will never recognize this if you keep forcing. The universe never rewards force. It rewards alignment. It rewards patience. It rewards trust. Because trust is proof that you know your worth. If you believe in your worth, you do not chase. You do not beg. You do not settle. You know that what is meant for you will not pass you by. And that is the secret. When you let go of control, you gain everything. The less you grip, the more you receive. The less you force, the more you attract. The less you chase, the more naturally things fall into place. That is the beauty of trust. It feels light. It feels effortless. It feels free. Do not confuse effort with force. Effort is aligned. Effort feels good because it comes from a place of love, passion, and purpose. Force feels heavy because it comes from fear and desperation. That is how you know the difference. If you feel drained, you are forcing. If you feel at peace, even while working hard, you are in the flow. Stop worrying about the timing. Timing is not yours to control. You may think you are ready for something, but if it is not here yet, that means there is still preparation happening in the background, preparation within you or within the world around you. The delay is not denial. The delay is alignment. So breathe, step back, trust. Stop running after things that are not running toward you. Stop clinging to what wants to leave. Stop crying over doors that are closed. The longer you hold on to what isn't meant for you, the longer you block what is. Let go and watch how quickly things begin shift. Trust the flow. Trust that your path is unfolding exactly as it should. Trust that nothing truly meant for you can be lost. Trust that every step you take, even when it feels uncertain, is leading you closer to where you are supposed to be. Trust that life is working with you, not against you. Because once you begin to trust, you stop living in fear. You stop chasing, you stop controlling, you stop doubting, you start living, you start receiving, you start flowing. And suddenly, everything comes to you naturally. Your presence is more powerful than anything you could ever say. Words fade. People forget what you told them, but they never forget how you made them feel. They never forget the energy you carried into a room, the quiet confidence you walked with, the aura that needed no introduction. You do not need to constantly explain yourself. You do not need to announce your worth. When you carry yourself with certainty, people notice without you even speaking. That is the strength of presence. It communicates what words cannot. Think of the times you have met someone who didn't need to say much, yet you immediately felt their energy. Something about their calmness, their posture, their silence drew you in. That is presence. It does not beg for attention, yet it commands it. It does not shout, yet it resonates louder than any noise in the room. People often waste energy trying to convince others of their value. They talk endlessly, over-explain, and try to prove themselves. But when you understand your worth, you realize you don't need to perform. You don't need to chase validation. You don't need to fill every silence with explanations. Your presence does the work for you. Presence comes from alignment with yourself. It is not about being perfect. It is about being rooted. Rooted in who you are, in your values, in your energy. When you are grounded, you don't need to shout to be noticed. Your calmness becomes magnetic. Your stillness becomes a statement. Notice how people who lack presence are the ones who try the hardest to be seen. They are loud, they are dramatic, they are desperate for recognition. But desperation repels. People can feel when someone is seeking validation. It is heavy, it is exhausting. Presence, on the other hand, feels light. It feels natural. It feels undeniable. You don't need to chase the spotlight. The spotlight will find you when you embody your own light. Presence is not about being seen by everyone. It is about being unforgettable to the right people. The kind of energy that lingers even after you leave the room. This is why silence and composure are so powerful. When you are not rushing to fill every gap with words, people start to lean in. They want to understand you. They want to know what's on your mind. They become curious. Presence thrives in mystery, and mystery is magnetic. You must understand that presence is not just physical. It is energetic. It is the way you hold yourself, the way you walk, the way you enter a space without needing to perform. It is the inner peace that radiates outward, the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, and that is enough. Presence also comes from integrity. When your actions align with your words, when your energy matches your intentions, people feel it. You cannot fake presence. You can fake confidence with words, but energy never lies. People can sense authenticity. They can sense strength that is real. That is why presence can never be manufactured. It is cultivated. To cultivate it, you must let go of the need to be liked by everyone. You must stop performing for approval. You must stop explaining your every decision. Instead, you learn to simply exist as you are, fully, authentically. That authenticity creates presence. Think about leaders who inspired without needing to speak constantly. That presence alone set the tone. That silence carried more weight than someone else's entire speech. That is what presence does. It sets the atmosphere. It shapes the energy of a space before a single word is spoken. Presence also protects you. When you know how to let your energy speak, you don't need to waste words in arguments. You don't need to justify yourself to those who doubt you. Your composure is your response. Your calmness is your strength. And often your silence unsettles more than any argument ever could. There will be people who will test you, who will try to provoke you, who will try to pull you into chaos. But when you have presence, you don't move. You don't react. You don't give them what they want. You let your stillness speak. That restraint shows more strength than any outburst ever could.
Presence is not about arrogance. It is not about pretending to be above others. It is about knowing your worth so deeply that you don't need to display it constantly. It is about carrying yourself with dignity, with respect, with quiet power. People feel safe around presence. People feel inspired by presence. People remember presence.
If you want to build it, focus less on proving and more on being. Spend time with yourself. Know yourself. Respect yourself. The more at peace you are within, the more it radiates outward. And when your energy is aligned, you don't need to say much. People feel it. Words can be manipulated. Words can be doubted. But energy is undeniable. Presence is undeniable. That is why presence always speaks louder than words. So the next time you walk into a room, remind yourself that you don't need to explain who you are. You don't need to overcompensate. You don't need to force attention. Just stand tall, be still, be grounded. Your presence is enough. Let people feel you before they hear you. Let your calmness set the tone. Let your silence carry weight. Because when you truly embody presence, you will see that you never needed noise to be powerful. You never needed explanations to be understood. You never needed validation to be seen. Presence speaks for you. It always will. Everything begins within you. People spend their whole life searching outside of themselves for answers, for validation, for direction. They try to fill the emptiness with relationships, with distractions, with noise. But the truth is, nothing outside of you can give you the peace you're looking for. Inner alignment is the key. Until you are aligned within, nothing you chase outside will ever feel enough. When you are out of alignment, everything feels heavy. You second guess yourself. You seek approval. You compromise who you are to fit into places you don't belong. You settle for less because you don't believe you can have more. You let the world pull you in 1,000 directions because you don't trust your own. That is what happens when you are disconnected from yourself. But when you are aligned, everything shifts. You begin to trust your instincts. You stop looking for confirmation in other people's opinions. You stop chasing because you realize what belongs to you will naturally find you. You stop forcing because you feel guided. Alignment creates clarity. Clarity creates peace. And peace creates power. Inner alignment is not about being perfect. It's not about never doubting, never making mistakes, never feeling lost. It's about knowing how to return to yourself, no matter what happens. It's about creating an inner foundation so strong that even when the world around you shakes, you remain steady.
This is why silence matters. This is why stillness matters. Because when you remove the noise, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop reacting to every distraction, you finally hear yourself. You hear your inner voice, and that voice has always known the way. You've just been too busy listening to everyone else to hear it.
Alignment requires honesty. You must be willing to face yourself, to admit what you've been avoiding, to let go of the masks you've been wearing, to stop pretending to be someone you are not just to be accepted. Because the truth is, the more you abandon yourself for others, the further you drift from alignment. And the further you drift, the more restless and lost you feel.
When you choose inner alignment, you begin to say no without guilt. You stop explaining your choices. You stop overthinking whether people will understand you. You choose what feels right, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. And that is where freedom begins.
Notice how people who are aligned move differently. They don't rush. They don't beg. They don't force. They walk with calmness because they know they are on the right path. They trust themselves. They are guided by something deeper than fear. And that kind of energy is magnetic. Inner alignment attracts the right people, the right opportunities, the right experiences. Because when you are aligned, you only move toward what resonates. You stop entertaining what doesn't. You no longer settle for things that drain you because you value your energy too much. You no longer tolerate chaos because you protect your peace. That shift changes everything around you. But alignment takes discipline. It requires you to stop ignoring the red flags you keep justifying. It requires you to stop silencing the part of you that already knows the truth. It requires you to stop betraying yourself just to be accepted by people who don't even respect you. Alignment is self-respect in its purest form. There will be times when choosing alignment feels lonely, times when you will have to walk away from people, from places, from habits that no longer match who you are becoming. That loneliness is not a punishment. It is space being created for what actually belongs to you. The discomfort is temporary. The peace you gain is permanent. When you are aligned, you no longer need to force life. You move with trust. You understand that if something doesn't flow, it's not for you. You stop chasing temporary validation because you are fulfilled from within. And because you are fulfilled from within, everything you attract from the outside feels richer, deeper, more genuine. You start to notice how your energy shifts when you are in the wrong places, how drained you feel when you betray yourself. And you also notice the opposite, how light and powerful you feel when you honor yourself. The awareness is alignment guiding you. It is your inner compass. It will never lead you wrong. The world is full of distractions, full of voices telling you who to be and how to live. If you are not careful, you will spend your whole life chasing a version of success that was never yours. Inner alignment protects you from that. It keeps you rooted in your own truth. It reminds you that your path will not look like anyone else's, and that is the point. When you align, you stop competing, you stop comparing, you stop doubting whether you're enough. You realize that your only responsibility is to live in a way that feels authentic to you, and that authenticity is what makes everything fall into place. Inner alignment is peace, it is strength, it is clarity, it is freedom, it is the power of knowing that you don't need to chase, you don't need to beg, you don't need to force, you just need to trust yourself, honor yourself, and stay rooted in who you are. Everything else unfolds naturally, because once you are aligned within, the outside world has no choice but to reflect that alignment back to you. That is the truth, that is the power. Everything begins inside. All